You're listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast with Joe D and Eric B.
Welcome, everyone. It's the Ordinary Joe's podcast. I am Eric B.
And I'm Joe D.
And together we are the Ordinary Joes.
Ordinary Joes.
All right. First
Nailed it that time.
First podcast came out really good. I want to thank everyone who went out there and actually listened, download whatever app you had to download to listen. Thank you guys for that. It showed you guys are supportive. Everyone who's listening from New York to California to Daly City, thank you guys for doing that. And, you know, we had fun. I totally enjoyed it. And today I might dive into something a little, not too serious, but serious to a lot of sports guys. So
Sports guys.
So for a lot of you guys know there's Covid-19 going around right now. There's this thing, a virus. NBA is in a bubble. They're trying really hard not to get the virus. The baseball is kind of doing the same thing. No fans are allowed. Now, with a couple weeks away of football coming up, and football is probably the only sport that I'll pay attention to, you have fantasy football coming up. Fantasy football is coming up. And for you guys, again, who listen, finally, I know. They showed the San Francisco 49ers today on TV, and they showed the Super Bowls that they won, and it kind of spoiled me. You know,
who cares?
Giants fan. Hey, I'm pretty sure New York they're showing the Giants Super Bowl. Two Super Bowls that you guys? 3 Super Bowls that you guys won?
No, we got four Super Bowls. I think. Yeah, four. 3 in my lifetime. So that says a lot.
See, I had 5 in my lifetime. 5 in my lifetime.
But you're also a lot older than me, so that.
Yeah. Okay.
But I need to get the soundboard.
I don't even have that. I have this. I don't. I should have that little. I don't even know what it's called. It's called what? Not even a drum roll. It's called something.
No, it's not a drum roll, but whatever it is. How about this? Whatever you don't have a sound effect for, I'll just do it. I'll be like the guy from Police Academy.
So the topic is you're going to be that big beatbox guy. I definitely want to see that. So the topic is for you fantasy football guys out there. Are you guys willing to pay the whatever amount it is to cost to play in your league when you know there's a possibility that your number 1 pick, your number 2 pick might get COVID? Are you guys willing to pay that money? My league has been going on for 20 years. Not. Yeah, I bowed out. And my reason is totally different than everybody else's reason. And I'll get to that in a second. But, you know, my league's been going on for 20 years. I played on the league with Joe. It was a fun league playing on with Joe. But my league's been going on for 20 years. It's a family league that a lot of our family members have been on for, again, 20 years. This is the 20th year that we're actually playing. And I decided I'm stepping out. 20 years. Jeez. Yeah, 20 years. You were still in New York working in FedEx, probably.
I was 20.
Hey, I'm not.
No, I wasn't even working at FedEx. Jeez.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, 20 years. We've been on for 20 years, and this year they wanted to raise the ante to $200. The buy-in is normally $120, and I don't normally go past the $130. But this year they wanted to go $200, which I'm okay with on a regular non-COVID season. You know, and you know, my luck is knowing me and my luck in fantasy football. I'm going to get a good team. I'm going to make it to the championship and come to the fantasy football championship. Half my players will get COVID-19. So,
and the other half will get injured.
Yeah, other half will get injured. So are you guys willing to pay, you know, the money to play fantasy football? I'm not. You know what?
I'll tell you what. I'm not. I'm the commissioner of my league, and I had to tell everybody like, we're gonna cancel it. I mean, a lot of the guys wanted to back out of it anyway, just because, for one, we don't even know if there's going to be a season. You look at what's going on in the NBA. You know, they boycotted a few games. You got that going on, and then like you said, are you going to risk, you know, your top quarterback getting hurt, and then you got Joe Schmo going in there? Like it's not worth it. Not for me anyway. Not for $125, $150.
Yeah, I mean, I and again for you guys, my reason is there's this COVID-19 that's going on right now, and it's a serious thing, and a lot of people are trying to find some kind of normality when it comes to their livelihood, and sometimes sports is definitely one of them. But it's like the contact of them getting COVID playing football is a lot more higher than playing baseball. Even this basketball thing, I'm surprised none of them has gotten
Oh, yeah.
COVID-19 yet. And I read this thing the other day that what there probably one person in the NBA got COVID-19 and they're just not saying it. And
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just not saying anything.
Yeah, I mean, with that whole thing that happened with Jacob Blake, is that his name? When they stepped out and they decided to protest the basketball games, and the Clippers and the Lakers decided that they wanted to end the season, I was all for it. End the season, not end the season to protest, end the season to stay safe, go home to your families, and but they decided to keep playing. And who am I to judge? I'm not one of those. I'm not a sports bookie. I'm not anybody like that. I'm just this ordinary Joe who.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, we're just ordinary guys. So that who are we to judge, or who are we to say that the season should start? But as far as me not playing fantasy football this year, it's because I believe there's something bigger out there than fantasy football. They need to come up with a vaccine, not a virus. They have a virus. They need to come up with a vaccine. They need to come up with something where I can be comfortable watching sports.
Right. I mean, for me, it's just I don't like losing money. I'm not a big gambling guy. Fantasy football is probably the closest I get to gambling, and there's already so many variables as it is. There's I don't care how good you think you are, you can never call it if someone gets hurt or whatever. So to add this on, and then there's no crowd that plays a huge part. You don't think it does, but watching the NBA, it feels so weird watching NBA games now. It's like watching a bunch of guys warm up in the gym or something. I have a pickup game, and I can't get into it.
You bringing that up, a team like Seattle and Kansas City, and even like New Orleans, who relies on their fans to make that noise. I mean,
right.
What's going to happen when you got the Giants walking into New Orleans to an empty stadium?
Mm-hmm.
I heard rumors of New Orleans might have some fake crowd noise, but that's kind of like no fair to it's like if you don't have fans, you don't have fans.
Right.
You can't.
And even then, it's still not the same because there's just that energy of however many thousands of people in the stands and screaming and stomping their feet and all that. You can't reenact that with some good speakers.
Yeah, and this doesn't go down. It doesn't have to be fantasy football. It's everything. Like I'm watching. I'm trying to watch a clip of baseball, and it's like you hear the announcers, and the announcers are trying to be really, really excited when a person hits a home run, but you don't have that fan noise in the background, And
yeah, it's just it's very awkward, and I mean baseball's already like watching paint dry, so it's just oh god, it hurts. It does.
It does. But I mean, I think of it as more as they need to come up with something. I think they need to nip this virus in the bud first. And then, I coach football. I coach high school football for my son's teams, and we can't even go on the field right now. There's no schools that we can go to in California because of this COVID-19. So to see these professional guys who are out there, playing, and then here you are in San Francisco where you have a small, business that's going out of business. It's kind of like, what kind of normality do you want? It's like.
Now, how is the coaching? Are you guys coaching now? Is there a season? Or are the kids back in school?
No, we are. Kids are back in school, and just like different counties have different things going on. So these kids are actually distance learning. They're not going into school. They're doing whatever they can do distance learning. And yeah, I mean, as far as coaching, they're talking about December is when we're going to start going into some kind of practice. But me as a
Okay,
parent,
that should be interesting.
I'm probably not going to let them play just because there's no
Hmm.
vaccine out there. So
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
don't
how
blame you.
other parents are going to feel. I mean, till there's a vaccine, until we can walk around without having to wear a mask, you
Hmm.
know, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, as far as homeschooling, and I'm not trying to get too far off the topic, but are they giving kids credit for their gym, or are they actually trying to do things via Zoom, like to keep them active because they're stuck inside all day at a computer, or does they not even care anymore?
You know what's funny, man? Speaking of that, and gym is not gym when we were in high school. We were in high school.
Okay.
You had to do a lap or two laps to get some kind of grade. Now they're showing you, or
Right.
gym class now is like, yeah, you participate, yeah, you get graded for dressing, but they give you a little written assignment that you have to do as well. And I'm like, I asked one of my sons last year, I was like,
Weird.
you're writing what? He's like, I got to write an essay. Why this? I was like, for PE? So yeah,
Are
I
you
don't know.
running laps while you're running while you're writing it?
It's like, you got to run 10 times and then write the essay. What's going on here? I don't know. I don't know. It's totally
You
different
got to
from
do
when
like
we were,
10 burpees after every paragraph.
and see if you can write that paragraph and not go crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it is with PE now, but as far to answer your question, I think they're giving them some kind of exercise that they do at home. Make sure
Okay.
you get this, make sure you do that. But dude, if you were back in high school and your teacher said, "Go home and give me 10 push-ups and 5 this and that," and you come back and say, "Did you do it?" You're gonna say, "Yes, you did," right? Yeah,
Oh yeah, of
yeah.
course.
That's
Just like I did everything in high school.
yeah,
Like,
that's
yeah, oh, yeah, I did that. Oh, where is it? Oh shoot, my dog ate it. But I
I
did it
never
though. I swear I did
I
it.
never had a dog, but I did always use that excuse. And my dog ate it. And then, we had that one guy in class that always has to say, "I don't remember you telling me you had a dog."
Don't you got allergies?
I have a dog. Trust me, he ate my homework. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, so now you you as a fantasy football owner, because you are an owner of a team, that's what you do. You pay the money to own a
Hmm.
team. I'm not going to pay
Hmm.
that money. I'm not going to pay. I got this one guy who I'm going to play this soundbite real quick. This one guy named
Hmm.
Casey King, who this is what he feels about fantasy football. Let me just make sure my levels are up. But this is how he feels. Listen to this.
I'm not really interested in playing fantasy football right now due to the coronavirus. I just don't think it's something that's very safe right now, among other things too, but that's mainly the reason why.
So Casey says he's not playing because of coronavirus, and I agree with him. I agree with what he's saying
No.
about not playing, but I do miss this. I do miss that.
Oh man, see you just gave me chills.
I do miss
Seriously.
that. I do miss that. I do miss that. I mean, I miss that. I mean, I can't wait to and it's funny because I protested watching sports this season, and the only reason why
Mhm.
is because there is a pandemic that we're still going through, and I said till there's a cure, I'm not going to support what's going on. Um, Sports wise, but of course I contradicted myself because I can't wait till football season starts. Um, and
Well, football doesn't count. It's
yeah,
not. That's different from sports.
yeah, it is. Football
Football's
football is
life.
different. Exactly. And when you have a team like the San Francisco 49ers who lost to the Super Bowl, and they're going to try to come back and see what we can do on a COVID season. Here's Joe. It's like,
That's me moaning and groaning. If you're wondering what
hey,
that sound
but
is.
you know what? You guys got a good season this year. You get your old man quarterback finally retired, and then you have this new guy. What's this new guy coming in? What's his name? The quarterback.
I don't know.
Yeah, see.
I can't think of his name right now.
So you guys you have what's your running back's name? What's the running back's name?
name?
What's this
Saquon
running?
Barkley. I know that one. Jesus
Saquon
Christ.
Barkley. All right, we have to Google for Joe the New York Giants' lineup this year. But you got Saquon Barkley. He's definitely going to be a big difference for the New York Giants, and the 49ers again is coming out a Super Bowl year with terrible Super Bowl year. I don't know what's going to happen.
Daniel Jones, that's his name.
Daniel Jones. And I liked him. I liked him as a quarterback. He's a good quarterback. Will he be your fantasy football quarterback?
I would draft him. But I mean, that just goes to show how uninvested I am in the season. That I mean, I can't even think who the quarterback is right now. It's just, I'll be honest, I'm still gonna do FanDuel, because I still need my fix, and it's a lot cheaper than doing $150 for the whole year. You do it weekly. I keep it cheap. I'll bet $25 and do $5 games, $2 games like that, and that is what I'm going to use to gauge whether or not I'll be doing fantasy next season.
Explain to the people who don't do FanDuel. Explain to the people what that is.
So FanDuel it's just another form of fantasy football. The only difference is you're not joining you're not picking a team that you're going to have for the whole season. You're not playing with the same group of people, in that sort of setting. It's a weekly thing where the same concept, you pick players, and according to how they do during the actual game, they'll give you points. And if you have the most points, you beat the other people's team. And, there's other rules as far as picking your team. There's a salary cap, things like that. So it's basically just another form of fantasy football.
Okay. Okay.
Which is pretty entertaining. And I think that's another option for people.
I mean, my fix is just watching football. I mean, like I said, I was watching the old Super Bowl season, earlier today, and that was a fix enough for me. I already knew the outcome of the game, but when Jerry Rice caught that touchdown, I'm still screaming up and down like, right. This was 1989. 1989. Wow. I'm watching a Super Bowl game, and I'm still acting like it was like yesterday's game. But it's crazy because it's like with this COVID-19 going around, it's like I'm more like, I want to make sure these players are safe. I don't know these players. They don't care about me, but right. They have to go home to their family, right? They have to make sure that, especially these ones with kids. Russell Wilson has newborns, and and there's talks that Russell Wilson might even opt out the season just because he has newborns. Yeah,
we've seen a couple players. I think a wide receiver from the Bears, a few big name guys have opted to not play, and you can't blame them.
And yeah, you can't blame him. I mean, it happened in baseball. Buster Posey opted out because, he was bringing home 2 twins. And, I agree with his choice. And till something is done with this virus, then I don't know. I don't know if I can be comfortable watching football. It's just.
Something you said before reminded me of like an old argument back in the days when you said that, watching the games, you get your fix. I remember at one point there was a time where you had, especially a lot of retired professional sports players complaining that fantasy football is taking away from the game, right? That the people are, they don't root for one team anymore, and they're just going for players and they want money. And I disagree with that, because for me, I feel like fantasy football enhanced the football experience for me, because now I'm doing research. Now I'm watching games otherwise I wouldn't have watched, like, Cincinnati and the Buccaneers or something like that. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
But now I'm invested. Now I'm looking at guys. Now I'm paying attention to college, which I couldn't stand before,
Yeah.
So I think it actually does help people's education of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's like here I am, not, I'm not a New York Giants fan, right? But I'm definitely going to try to get Saquon. Yeah, I should be. I'm not. but I'll definitely try to get Saquon Barkley on my team. He's probably going to be one of my top 5 running backs if I did play fantasy football. The time that you had Odell Beckham on your team, I think I picked him up a few times. So it does. It helps people like myself who I'm strictly a Niner fan. I try really hard in the past not to try to draft Niner players because I like them. But that changed kind of last year. You had a couple of blowout players last year for the 49ers, George Kittle being one of them. But
yeah, I like that guy.
But I'm still not going to sit here and pick up Jimmy Garoppolo because he's a 49er. because there's other quarterbacks out there that is way better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And I'm telling you
Now,
that as a Niner fan.
now, what do you do as a seasoned fantasy football player? How does it feel for you when it's Monday night and it's down to your last player and maybe the other guy's last player, right? And he has Garoppolo and you have, I don't know, someone from the other team. Who are you rooting for? Are you going with the money or are you going with your team?
You know what's funny is because last year during fantasy football, how many times was I in the same dilemma? I was down by like 5, and my defense was going against his offense, and I forgot how the scenario went, but I had a running back. It was one of those things where it's like, okay, what's the outcome? It's like, but I always go for the team. I always go for my team. So if Garoppolo was going against an opponent's defense, and I'm not gonna sell out and
Right.
try to bench whoever. I mean, it's like, I look at it like this, man. If my team is playing and the other opponent, like let's say I have Chicago's defense going against Jimmy Garoppolo on a Monday night, of course I'm going to start Chicago's defense, of course. Of course. I want Garoppolo to win. I want the Niners to win, but at the same time, I want Chicago to give me some points, like sack him a few times. You may get one pick six, something to help me out here,
Yeah, it's always rough for me, but same, I'm rooting for my team, but I feel like more often than not, it never goes my own way either way. They end up losing and don't get the points I need on the other side.
I mean, fantasy football is rough. I mean, it's it's rough, and you have guys out there who are doing more than one league, and it's like, I think when I first jumped on with you, I think you were like the third league that I did, and I think the second year I jumped on with you, I ended up not even playing in your league because there were so many leagues that I was jumping on. So for you guys out there who are doing more than one fantasy football league, man, more power to you. It's I can't do one.
Yeah.
I don't want to do one.
I get my teams mixed up. I'm starting the wrong guy. I got the wrong lineup. Yeah. It's too much. And then at one point I was same here. I was doing 3, and 2 of them were pay leagues, and one was free. And the free one I just forget about. I just literally just had my name there.
Yeah,
it's much work,
You use the free league to try to figure out who the next person, the next star that's going to come out. So you use that free league, and then if nobody picked up, Steve Smith, and like, Steve Smith's going to have a breakout season, you pick him up on your paid league. It didn't cost you much to start him, right? I mean,
you're giving away secrets, man.
Yeah. Well, that's why you have the free league. Well, I'm not playing this year, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. But for people who out there.
Let me just write this down. Have a free league.
Free league.
Right.
And while you're writing this down, we have a sponsor. He is a good friend of mine, and he is listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast on a weekly. This is our second podcast. Let me let you guys listen to what Kofi has to say.
Hey there, this is Kofi Ibsen with Black Star United, and you are listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast. I'm here to let you know that my brand Black Star United is about unity and empowering all people of color to be their best and to share their light with the world. You can follow the Fashion Revolution on Instagram at BLKSTARUNTD, and you can also check out our latest collection on our website, which is BLKSTRUNTD. Thank you.
That's Kofi with Black Star United. Thank you, Kofi, for
thank you, man.
taking care of us. Yeah, shout out to Black Star United. I will definitely leave links to his clothing line here on our podcast channel and also on our YouTube channel, The Ordinary Joes on YouTube. So thank you, Kofi, for doing that. His gear is cool. Again, this hat, especially what's going on with the world right now. This is definitely something that you want to support. But definitely check out his links.
His Instagram, I got some cool stuff on there. I like that. I think it's a shirt, but it said facts. But I like that.
Yes. All right, so back to what we're talking about. And before I forget, I want to throw a quick shout out to Chadwick Boseman, a big RIP to Black
Rest in peace.
Panther. ABC is throwing out a special for him right now, and when I found out the news the other day, I my heart dropped because it's
Yeah.
like the selfish guy inside of me. Instead of thinking of Chadwick Boseman, first thing I said was, "What's going to happen to Black Panther?" That was my selfish side, but for him and his family, rest in peace, and more power
Yeah,
to
no,
his family.
definitely. I mean, I think that just goes to show how much, that movie and his performances touch people. That you personalize that. That's your, everyone took a piece of Black Panther. So
Yeah.
when you lose someone like him, like, yeah, he was playing a character, but what that stood for and what that meant, it just, it sucks, man. It's years.
Yeah.
Ready for it to be over.
Cancer sucks, man. Yeah, I mentioned in my other podcast how you're gonna start hashtagging 2020, and whenever you say 2020, that just means it sucks. 2020
Yep.
sucks.
That's gonna be a new adjective.
Yeah, 2020 sucks. But
You go, how was your burger? Like, oh, it was so 2020. It was
2020.
overcooked.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we're gonna do it next year. As soon as 2021 hits, 2020 is just what we're gonna say is just how everything was. 2020. That's
Just put a little asterisk next to 2020 in the history books.
yeah. Oh my God.
Didn't count that year.
Didn't count this year. Can we just skip this year? Just skip this year and move forward to some positive things in 2020. We got the Ordinary Joe's podcast that just started in 2020. That's a positive thing. What else?
Yes.
A lot of other positive things. If you got married, if you had a baby in 2020, those are positive things. But
yeah, actually, a lot of babies being born in 2020.
Well, yeah, you're quarantined for 14 days. I'm pretty sure a lot of people.
Well, that'll be 2021.
But it's yeah. I mean, 2020 is just where I'm so over 2020, and it's just let's get this over with and let's get back to some kind of normality. And and I know it sucks for you guys, especially in the hotel business where you guys can't have some kind of normality there. I mean, it's good and bad. It's good. It's good that you don't have to, go crazy when you're doing your little patrols, but it's bad because there's no business, right?
Yeah, there's none. I mean, thank goodness for the residents that we have that actually live in the condos in our building, because without them, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
They keep it going. So
do they actually even still come out?
a handful do.
Okay.
A handful at like midnight too. It's the same ones. There's some people. There have been people that I can attest have not stayed inside during quarantine at all. I mean, and I don't know necessarily what they do. I mean, I know what they do for a living. I know they're not essential workers, but I don't know if they're going out to help people or what. But there's still some steady individuals at night.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're trying to find some normality here. This is a text that my cousin who is the commissioner or fantasy football. I asked him to do a little thing that Casey said, but he decided to just tweet it out. So this is my cousin Dale. This is him saying, so I quote, 2020, wow, who would have thought? Kobe, COVID, George Floyd, protest rioting, mask, NBA bubble, California fires, Jacob Blake, vigilante militias, political unrest, defund the police is crazy. Then he goes on and say, everyone is pretty much ready for some normalcy, right? But what or when can we have this normalcy together? He goes, so he decides that the reason why he's deciding to go ahead with the fantasy football with friends and family is because to have some kind of normality within the community of fantasy football, which I totally agree with. And he also says it's also a good way to keep in touch with the ones that we haven't talked to in a while, just to make sure that they're doing well. And he closes out with, is it for everyone? No, but we all need to find a way to find some kind of normalcy in life right now. And this is the way for him to do it. And I totally agree with him
understandable
on his reasoning. But my reasoning is just, I can't find myself spending $200.
Yeah.
If it was a 120 like he normally did, and I did tell him 120, or maybe push out season 20 next year, then maybe yes, I can do it. But
And I'm too competitive, man. Like half of the guys in my league, we work together at night, so there's really nothing to do but just trash talk. And with all this stuff going around, I feel like I'm not at the top of my game. I won't be able to do as well as I normally would, and I don't know. It's not worth the risk.
I mean, at $50, yes. At $100, almost.
Mhm.
But at $200, that's too much.
Yeah.
That's too much. It's like you and I went through this trying to find this right setup just, to get to where we are right now. And,
Mhm.
yeah, I spent money to get a different microphone, to get a different camera. But at least I know with the money that I spent there, I'm going to get something back in return. So,
It's an
that
investment.
it's an investment, fantasy football. And he did mention that if the league went south and players started dropping like flies, that the season, well, he would just cancel the season, refund the money back, or maybe just keep the money in the pot and then move on for next season. But for me, I think it's just a lot easier if we just hold off this season and just wait till next season when I know for sure there's going to be players that's going to come back.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I agree. It's funny. It's not really a sport, but recently, like with everything how it is now, I'm always looking for something to keep my mind occupied, and I'm always looking at different games and apps. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there's this game called Dr. Mario for Nintendo back in the days.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So I have the app for it, and I'm playing it at home, and my wife hears the music, and she's like, "Is that Dr. I'm like, "Yeah." So she's like, "Well, let's start on the TV so we both can play," because we have the Nintendo that they brought out like 2 years back. They
Switch?
revamped it. No, the actual Nintendo Mini.
Okay. Yeah.
And it has a
Yeah.
bunch of the old classic Nintendo games loaded on there, and you can just kind of pick through them. So they have that. She remembered. I didn't remember. So I was like, "Did you play this a lot as a kid?" She's like, "Yeah, this is, it's my thing." Nah, nah. And she starts stretching. Right? She's like, "All right, gotta get
What?
ready." Like cracking the knuckles, and I'm like, "What the?" Okay.
We're not talking about the Wii, right? We're not talking about the
No,
Wii.
we're talking about old school Nintendo control.
The old school,
Like
two.
old school
Oh,
Nintendo.
oh my God! What was that? That was called the NES, wasn't it?
Yes, Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah,
You
that
were
was the
correct.
NES. Yes.
1985.
Yes,
Yes.
I had one.
And so I'm like, all right, well, let's play a friendly game of Dr. Mario. Okay.
And did she?
When I tell you I didn't win one game.
Yeah.
And not only was she beating me, she was trash talking. She was embarrassing me. We were on a like a conference call with my mom, who sent us, shout out to you, Mom and Dad, sent us this nice little care package with some like snacks and goodies. And I'm like, let's call her and thank her. And she is just 100% in the zone. Whipping I'm like, "Thanks, Mom, we love you." She's like, "Shut up, bitch." Like, she didn't say that, but she might as well have. Like, so
Get
I was
off the
just
phone!
like,
Get off the phone so I can kick your ass! Don't make me embarrass me in front of your mom and dad.
So, like, I mean, I guess I have enough, competitiveness at home that I really don't need. I could do without
Oh my
fantasy
God.
football for a season.
Mr. and Mrs. Diaz, I'm waiting for my care package too as well. If you don't remember me, I was the guy at the picnic wearing the 49er jersey that you guys all wanted to hurt me. So after Joe's wedding, I was wearing the 49er jersey. So my care package, I'm waiting for that. So whenever you guys are ready, let me know.
You shouldn't have said that. I wouldn't open that package when it gets to you.
Oh, well, no, see, that Niner player is no longer there. So just to let you guys know, he got traded.
I did wear a 9. Okay. I have to complete disclosure.
Uh-oh.
I used to have a Jerry Rice jersey back in the days, right? In high school, that was, high school was late 90s. That was the style back then. And it wasn't necessarily who you were a fan of. It was, can you match that jersey with those sneakers and that hat? And,
okay.
That was the thing. And so I had a Jerry Rice jersey.
White or red?
Red.
Okay.
Red. This was, we're say 97. So if you can remember what that uniform looks like. And so had the jersey, and a friend of mine's dad got us some tickets to a Jets game Monday night, 50-yard line, 8th row, best seats I've ever had at a football game. Right, it was Jets and 49ers. I cannot stand the Jets. Right. And they're not, they're not even like a rival of the Giants. They barely play each other. It has nothing to do with that. I just don't like the Jets, right? We had to share a damn stadium with them forever. It's like, get your own home. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I wore I had a throwback Deion Sanders Niner jersey that my friend left them in my locker in high school. So I wore that jersey, and I had the Jerry Rice jersey over my shoulder. And you guys had Garrison Hurst, I believe, was your quarterback at the time.
Running back.
Running back.
Yes.
And I forget who was the quarterback.
Jeff Garcia, most likely.
Yeah, Jeff Garcia.
Most likely,
They put on such a whooping on the Jets. Shout out to my boy Ro, because he's going to be so pissed off when he sees this. Right?
Is he a Jets fan?
Oh, he's a Jets fan.
Okay.
He's a Jets fan. And,
sorry, Ro.
Yeah, diehard Jets fan. No, I mean, got to give him props. And but they're just whooping on the Jets. And I got my jersey, and I'm swinging it in the air. And when I tell you, I thought I was gonna get my ass beat. This one guy's like, he's not even on the fucking team.
I take that back. I think it was probably Steve Young was probably the quarterback back in the 90s. It could have been Steve Young, and then maybe because I don't think Garrison Hurst and Jeff Garcia played on the same team. On the same team, Jeff Garcia could have been on the bench, but I think it was Steve Young that was back then. And when you say put on a whipping, it definitely wasn't Jeff Garcia then. Definitely had to be Steve Young that was putting on a whipping out there. But
it's also the Jets. So.
But it's funny because we talk about cross dressing when it comes to teams. I grew up wearing a Dallas Cowboy. It wasn't even a jersey. It's just one of those things that you get like at Sears back then that said Dallas. And, back then, me growing up in the 70s and 80s, Dallas was America's team, And I ended up liking the Cowboys. And I didn't like the Cowboys because of the team. I like the Cowboys because of Tony Dorsett. So let's get that straight. Not because of the Dallas Cowboys. Not because of that. It was Tony Dorsett is the reason why I like the Cowboys. And then later on in my life, I became a Raider fan. An Oakland Raider fan, and the only reason why is because their logo with that pirate and that arrow. I mean, as a kid, you're looking at teams not because of what city you live in. You look at their uniforms, right?
Yeah.
So I was a Raider fan, and good thing too, because I was into the whole running back guys, and Marcus Allen was their running back in the days, and between Marcus Allen and Tony Dorsett, those guys would always have their little who can rush the most in the season. So yeah, I was a Raider fan because of their uniform. I don't think I became a Niner fan till 1983 when they went to the Super Bowl. Was it 83 or 81? I don't even remember. See, I don't remember.
To be honest with you, 83. I was 3 years old. So
okay, so
I couldn't tell you.
You were chewing on a football, not watching football.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't become a Niner fan till then when they won their first Super Bowl, and like I said earlier, that's when they did their 5 Super Bowl dynasty was during that time during that run, and back then, fantasy football, you had to do it on newspaper. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't. I never played that way, but I do. I actually saw a pretty cool documentary about it, where they talk about the beginnings of it and how it started, and yeah, that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, you used to have to. They used to have this thing on the Chronicle in San Francisco, and it used to be called Pick'em. I don't know if you ever saw Pick'em. You would just pick the teams, and it was straight pick. There was no point spread, and that evolved into fantasy football years later. Cool. And here we are now, 2020, and we're still playing fantasy football, but it's more online now.
Yeah, more convenient.
More convenient.
You're talking about America's team. Did you know that originally the Steelers were going to be America's team?
Yeah.
The NFL was looking for a team to give that moniker to, and the Pittsburgh was like, no, we're good. We don't want it. because they were a hot team at the time.
Hot team, yeah.
This was still the Steel Curtain days.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're like anti-establishment, so they ended up going ahead and giving it to the Cowboys.
I mean, can you just imagine the NFL going up to someone like Mean Joe Green and said, "Hey, you know what? We're going to call you America's team," and you had the NFL commissioner probably saying, "Go up to Mean Joe Green and tell him they're going to be America's team." And that one person is going up there and going like, "Nope. Where's where's the weekend? Where's the kicker?
Yeah.
Where's their kicker? I'll go up to the kicker and tell the kicker they're America's team."
Where's Terry at?
Where's Terry Bradshaw? Back then, Terry, man, if you ever seen any videos back in the days of Terry Bradshaw?
Yeah.
He's
he was
nothing. Yeah, he's nothing the way he is right now. Now he's just this charismatic, fun guy to talk to. But back then, I guarantee he was an asshole to a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I feel like football players in general, you looked at them, it was like literally watching the 10-yard. What's that movie? The where they playing football in jail? Like
the longest yard. Yeah.
The longest yard. Yeah. You look at NFL films from like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. It's guys missing teeth and
I mean,
shape. They're just big just for being big sake. Like,
and that was the Pittsburgh Steelers back in the days. You know, it's like you had, I forget the name of that lineman, but it's a Sports Illustrated cover. If you guys remember who that player was, please let me know. But it was that Pittsburgh Steeler. He's holding his helmet and he's smiling and he's missing like 4 front teeth. And, and back then, between then and now it's more powder puff, you can't hit here, can't hit there. But back then, guys didn't care. They didn't care. They put their bodies on the line, and and at the same time, that's how a lot of the, the brain injuries started. Like people, committing. Junior Seau committed suicide because he was having, issues. So I guess it's good that NFL decided to stop doing it and decided to back off. But at the same time, it's like when I'm watching NFL now, and I see a guy get hit and they throw a flag because to me it was a clean hit. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it feels, especially a few years ago with the whole Brady rule, it felt like they were overcompensating a little bit. I mean, I understand for so many years they weren't caring about the health of the players.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the players are more, protective of their health and each other. So I can see that, being different now, but yeah.
Let's this is my whole thing with let's do this Brady Montana comparison. A lot comparison. A lot of people say who's better, Joe or Brady. And Tom Brady would not have survived back in the days when Joe Montana was playing.
I agree.
The way, I mean, like you said, the rules are meant to protect the quarterbacks nowadays, and most of the quarterbacks is Tom Brady. Let's protect the way Tom Brady is. There's no way Tom Brady would have survived in the 80s playing football.
No.
Tom Brady would have had that one back surgery. Joe had 2 or 3 back surgeries. Tom would have had one back surgery and he would have been done. He'd be like, nope, I'm retiring. Sorry, I'm done. So a lot of people say who's better. Different era of football.
Yeah, it's really hard to compare. When you were talking about how you became a Niner fan, I always find it interesting how people become fans of teams because growing up in New York, you would think everyone's a Giants or a Jets fan, but a lot of my close friends, I mean, one good friend of mine, he's a Steelers fan. The other one's a Kansas City fan. And I'm always curious as to like how, and I asked him recently, was like, how the hell did you become a Kansas City fan? And he was like,
living in New York.
Living in New York, born and raised, and it was pretty simple. He was a fan of Joe Montana. And,
oh, wow.
He saw him play back in when he was on Kansas City and became a fan and then just stuck with him. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Me, on the other hand, I remember clearly I was about 5 years old and I was a fan of the Jets, the Bears, and the Giants. All right. Jets because I was, stupid little kid at the time. I didn't know any better. The Bears because they had Refrigerator Perry and he had a G.I. Joe made after him, like his own little G.I. Joe action figure.
With a Kung Fu grip.
Yeah, so I loved him. And then, of course, the Giants.
Yeah.
And I was in the kitchen with my brother, my sister, and my uncle. And they asked me, like, who are you a fan of? And I said, like, all three. And they were like, no, like, you have to pick one. I'm like, what?
Pick one.
And I'm like, no, I like all. No, you have to pick one. So, I'm sitting looking at my options, and I'm like, well, I got to live with my brother. Like, we share a room. So pretty sure I'll kick my ass every day if I don't say the Giants. So that's literally how I became a Giants fan. But the next year they won the Super Bowl. So
wait, was that what Phil Sims? Phil Sims was
Phil Sims 86.
Okay,
Yeah.
Phil Sims.
86.
Yeah, you had a good year. You had was it? I want to say Phil Sims is the only quarterback that was on there. Who else was it? Your running back was one of the Barber brothers, right?
That was later on in the in the 90s. I was really young back then, so all I knew was Phil Sims and Lawrence Taylor. Those were the only two.
Oh yeah, and you had refrigerator Perry. Okay, Perry. Yeah.
Perry was on the Bears. He was on the Bears.
Oh yeah. See, I'm getting my East Coast teams next. I'm getting my East Coast. That's how much I'm into the East Coast football. Anything past Oakland, California, I didn't pay attention to. See,
that's the furthest east you go. Jeez.
That's the furthest east. I'm only going to the east side of California. I'm not going to the east side of the Bay Area at that. I'm not even going to the East Coast.
For all my people back in New York, that's equivalent to going from Manhattan to Brooklyn. That's about as far as east he's willing to go.
Yeah. That's the only east. Yeah, exactly. And like growing up here in the Bay Area, and I'm pretty sure you dealt with it too, growing up in New York. We only had the 49ers and the Oakland Raiders before the Oakland Raiders decided to move to LA back in the day. So you were either a Raider fan or you were a Niner fan. And these Raider fans, they travel hard. And it's like now that they're moving to Las Vegas, I don't know how these Oakland fans are going to travel to Vegas, especially during this COVID season. But yeah, these Raider fans, they travel big and they travel hard, and it's kind of fun growing up watching two Bay Area teams. But you in New York, how many teams did you guys have? Football teams, I'm talking about.
Football teams, we had two. New York City, we had two. It was the Jets and the Giants. But then you have the Bills, but that's kind of upstate New York. I mean, that's you're talking about a couple hours away from New York City, and most people don't claim New York. The Bills is in New York. Okay. People in New York City, most of them, you don't really find a lot of Bills fans.
Okay.
But technically, they're the only team that actually plays in New York because the Jets and the Giants both play in Jersey.
Okay. And it's not because the Buffalo Bills went to the Super Bowl how many times and lost, right?
Sure. We won one of those, so that was 91.
Hey, we're two away from being the Buffalo Bills of this era, so we went to two Super Bowls and lost.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just. Can you fathom going to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row as a football fan?
In a row.
Know how hard it is just for 1 year to get to the Super Bowl. 4 years in a row and not be able to finish. Like, that was an amazing squad that they had. But
yes.
So much of that is just kind of taken away because they couldn't finish. And it sucks. It sucks for those guys.
And you had Jim Kelly, probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league, to not win a Super Bowl. I mean, make it 4 times and not win a Super Bowl. I mean, that was heartbreaking to me. And it's like, I think at the end, I just pulled up who they're playing. So 91, they lost to the Giants. That was you guys. 92, they lost to the Redskins, 37-24. 93, they lost big to the Cowboys, which was 52-17.
NFC East.
And then I think this is the last one. In 94, they lost again to the Cowboys. Not only did you lose to the Cowboys, you lost to the Cowboys back to back. That sucks. And if you look at this, it's all the NFC East.
NFC East, yep. And, I mean, that was such a tough division back in those days.
And I bet you what it was, it's like you had the Redskins calling the Cowboys saying, like, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what they did to us last year. This is what's going to happen this year. And, back then in the 90s, looking at this in the 90s, there's no way I was any fans of any of these teams. But I think in 94, when they played the Cowboys again, and Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith were the players back then, I think I wanted the Bills just to at least make it a game out of pity. Yeah, I felt bad for them.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, like I said, the Giants, they won that first one of the 4. And then it was like after that, it's kind of like, all right, man, just can these guys just get one? I did not want them to and I can tell you now, I don't remember, but I tell you, I didn't want them. I didn't want the Cowboys or the Redskins to win. So I'm pretty sure I was rooting for the Bills. Those last three. But,
Yeah,
man, it sucks.
here on the NFC side, I don't know how you guys do it in New York, but here and on my side, at least my family, if the Niners don't win, a lot of people always say you stick with the NFC, you stick with the NFC team, but we always get someone like Seattle that's going up to the Super Bowl. We'll get the Giants going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I can't pick, especially if it's in my division.
Right.
If it's in the Niner division, I'm not picking you.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I can't root for any of the other three teams in our division. And I mean, honestly, if the Giants aren't in it, I'm really not rooting for anybody. I'm just kind of hoping that it's a good Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than sitting there all day, getting ready, waiting for it. You got your barbecue, you got all the people over, you got all the commercials, and then it's like a freaking snoozer, and you're like, oh God, I gotta work tomorrow.
You're not quite drunk yet because you don't want to miss any good highlights of the game because you don't want to be too smashed. But then you get there in the first quarter, it's like 30-0. And now you're just sitting there to watch the commercials. That's pretty much what it is. If someone asked me that the other day. They asked me like I knew the answer, and I didn't know the answer. If we're watching the Super Bowl, and you have these guys that are paying big top dollars for a commercial, and in the first quarter, the score is pretty much done, right? Let's say the Giants are winning 30-3 in the first quarter. Does this Super Bowl commercials? Did they say, you know what, dude, I'm pulling out, I'm done, because no one's gonna watch the Super Bowl no more?
I don't think so. I mean, I would assume once you're locked in, you're locked in. But I don't know. I don't know how that works.
That sucks.
Yeah, it really does. I think that's probably maybe partly why the commercials became such a thing, because it gives people something else to stick around for besides the game.
Yeah.
And think about how, and my only issue with the Super Bowl was that every year it becomes more of an event than it does about the actual game. You have Super Bowl parties, you have all this stuff, you have people showing up because they want to barbecue and do all this stuff or whatever it is, and it's like you couldn't even name one player on the team. Not that I could talk, I couldn't name my quarterback like an hour ago, but still.
Hey, rookie quarterback.
I work graveyard,
Yeah, rookie quarterback.
So I don't know.
But it's just going back to what you said. It's amazing because like this year or last season when the Niners made the Super Bowl, you saw everybody wearing Niner jerseys, and the two jerseys that I saw a lot of people wearing was George Kittle and Bosa. Nick Bosa were the two, and maybe a Garoppolo here and there. Only the females wear Garoppolo jerseys because they think they think he's hot, right? So you would ask certain players or certain people hey, name another person besides the jersey you're wearing. It's
just crickets.
Yeah, exactly. Like name their running back. Well, I know they have 3 and he scored a touchdown last week. Well, who was that scored the touchdown last week? Who of the 3 scored the touchdown last week? But yeah, it's I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait for football season to start. And with this virus, like I said, I'm not going to play fantasy football. That's pretty much done.
There's no preseason, right?
No.
I mean, there hasn't been, right? Yeah.
No,
that's another thing. I can't even gauge the players.
Yeah, they opted. That's kind of crazy this season too. Is they opted out of preseason, and I think they're just going to go straight into playing football.
Right.
And
I mean, they are training still. It's just there's not going to be any games.
No games. I mean, they're doing live scrimmages against each other, and it's like, what is that going to get you ready for game time? I mean, I'm looking at the schedule right now. The very first game we're looking at September 10th, which is in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And we're going straight into Houston Texans going against Kansas City Chiefs. And that whole week, that's the first week that it starts. Thursday Night Football. Let me see.
Wow.
Let me see who our team is playing that week. The Giants get a Monday night. Well, the Giants get a Monday night game. You guys are playing against Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. We
The
usually start off
Steelers.
with Dallas. That's a good one. Hey, shout
Yeah.
out to my boy Dre. He's a Steelers fan.
Nice.
We've been waiting for that Super Bowl.
That would be a good Super Bowl. Every year it's funny because I always say every year that I want to see the Niners and Raiders in the Super Bowl because it's a Bay Area rivalry. But now that they moved to Vegas, I don't really give a fuck if they make the Super Bowl or not.
It's not the same.
Niners are playing Arizona that weekend, so it's gonna be a fun week. And let me see who else. That looks like it. Ro, if you're watching or if you're listening, the Jets is playing the Bills that weekend, so you guys could have a victory there. So I don't even know.
That's a shit show.
I don't even know how many. I don't even know the rosters. I mean, even with me not watching fantasy or playing fantasy football this year, I don't know who's where and who's what.
Yeah, I don't know who. Yeah,
If it's
who's
not
where, who's what, who's well, who's hurt.
Yeah. If it's not, I just can tell you right now. Like I get this little report on my phone on my team and telling me like who's going to be on the injured reserve and who's not going to be playing. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Question: how do you feel about Thursday night football? This is something we've had countless conversations on. I know a lot of people that are annoyed by it. Me personally, I like it, but what do you feel about it?
As a fantasy football owner, I hate it. I hate it because you have Sunday and Monday, right? So you have the Sunday games and then you have the Monday night game. And then you have 3 days. You have Tuesday, Wednesday, actually 2 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday comes around again. And then now you got to get your roster set up. You got to make sure that the player that you're starting, if there was a bye, there's all this stuff as a fantasy football owner that I hate. I do. As a fan, I love it. I mean, it's like,
Right.
you want to get off work, you're ready to just relax, have a beer, and watch some Thursday night football. So to me, it's both ways. I hate it and I love it,
Yeah. Same here, but I actually love it for the reason you hate it, because I feel like a lot of times that's when I get lucky gems because guys are still sleeping and resting off the high of the weekend. That turnaround is really fast, so you got to be on. And my league, thankfully, has been pretty competitive. So, I mean, guys are on their phones. They have apps. They have all these different, outlets that they're getting news on. So, if you see somebody, don't jump on him. Don't think he's going to be there later. And so that Thursday night kind of turnaround really quick always helps me a little bit. So, I personally like it, and I mean, just more football, the better.
That's one thing I miss about the graveyard. The graveyard shift, like you were saying right now, is you read things while everyone's still sleeping. So, you'll read like, Emmitt Smith is going down with an injury and is not going to play week 3. So what do? You drop, your whatever weakest player and you pick up his backup running back because his backup running back's going to get the blunt of the runs. So that was a good thing about working graveyard is that you, especially on a Thursday night, you had top picks on who's coming out or who was ready to play. And that's one thing I miss about the graveyards. A lot of things I miss, but that's one fantasy football thing that I miss about working the graveyards. But it's crazy. I mean, I like Thursday night football. I like coming home, watching Thursday night football. I'm kind of glad the NFL decided let's put it on the major network because back then when they first started, you had to have the NFL network to watch it.
Right. Yeah.
And not a lot of people wanted to fork up whatever the cost was for their provider to give them, the NFL network. So the following year they put it out and say, okay, it's still going to be on the NFL network, but it's also going to be on the local network that your team plays on, which is cool. And I like it,
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it is. I mean, I like it. I like just the fact that I can just have another night of football, another day of football, because I really don't. When it comes to other sports, I'm not a big basketball fan. I'll watch basketball. Like I said, baseball is it's unless I'm there at the game, it's just painfully boring to watch.
Yeah,
in my opinion. So football, it's like I'm just all year round like a little kid.
I think if we did a survey, and for you guys who are listening, or for you guys who are watching on YouTube. For you guys who are listening and for you guys who are watching on YouTube, What sports do you guys like better? What sports do you guys like better watching? Me and Joe did mention football, and I like watching football. I like everything about football. So yeah, what sports besides football do you guys like watching? I mean, Joe was right about the whole basketball thing. I didn't really start watching basketball till the Warriors started. I mean, I did watch basketball, but I wasn't really into basketball. I would watch it just because it was something to watch, but we really didn't get into it till the Warriors started winning these championships. Same thing with baseball. I mean, yeah, baseball's a yawner. I mean, that's why it's called America's pastime because it's a slow game. And
Yeah.
even now, it's even slower with this COVID-19. It's like, geez.
So weird. It really is.
But back to the topic, we're asking a lot of people, are you guys planning to play fantasy football with COVID-19? Are you guys watching football because of COVID-19? I know I'll be watching some football. I'm old school, and this is what I like. This is how old school I am, and this is what I like to listen to. Listen to this. I like that. I like that way better than the Hank Williams Jr. one.
I'm ready. Boom.
I mean,
I just think of Madden. I just want to start yelling out stuff like I got Tourette's.
Yeah, it's funny watching that Super Bowl, and I keep bringing that Super Bowl up because that was the last football game I watched today. Madden and who was his partner? Was it Brett Musburger? No, was it Musburger?
You would know.
Nah, I wouldn't know. I don't know what his name is. But Madden was the commentator for that 49ers Super Bowl game. So when you hear Madden and his little chalk talk, it's like, wow. Yeah. And then playing this old Monday night intro, it's one of those things where you're like, wow.
I miss it, man. It gives me chills. It makes me, I want to watch some football right now. Maybe I'll play some Madden on PlayStation. Get my fix.
I had a PlayStation, but when you have two kids, you end up giving one of your PlayStation to your kids, and you end up
is the keyword.
Had. Well, I guess that's gonna do it. We are the Ordinary Joes, and we were talking about, fantasy football versus COVID-19. We did go off the topic a lot of times, but that's what Ordinary Joes do. We talk about anything and everything. Yeah, that's what we do. Again, big shout outs to Kofi and Black Star United. Definitely check out his links down below. Thank you to Casey and my cousin Deo for reaching out, letting us know how they feel about fantasy football. And if you guys want to leave us comments and how you think about COVID-19 and fantasy football, we do have an email account. We are theordinaryjoes@gmail.com. I didn't mention that last week. theordinaryjoes@gmail.com. You could also leave us comments on our YouTube page, which is The Ordinary Joes Podcast. Actually, sorry, The Ordinary Joes Podcast @gmail.com. Let's rephrase that. The Ordinary Joes Podcast @gmail.com. So send us questions there, and that's it. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, and just I want to say thank you to anybody that listened to us last week and throughout the week. If you made it past the first 3 minutes, which were a little rough, and listen to the whole thing, thank you guys. We really do appreciate it. It gives us motivation to keep going and do more.
Very much appreciative. And when I saw the first hour, we already had 10, 15 listeners. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
and then just the comments
guys.
that kept coming down. We are on Instagram also, the Ordinary Joes Podcast on Instagram. And we are now available on Apple Podcast. We are on Spotify. We're on Breaker. I'm still trying to work on Google Podcasts. So that's eventually going to happen, but we're on all platforms. So if you go to Apple Podcasts, if you guys are Apple users, Google or search the Ordinary Joes Podcast. Make sure you say the Ordinary Joe's Podcast so you'll get Joe Rogan. And that's what usually happens to a lot of people. They get Joe Rogan. No, we are not the Joe Rogan Show. We are the Ordinary Joe's Podcast. Yeah. But we're on all platforms. And for you guys who don't like to listen and don't like more visual, we're going to be uploading this on YouTube. And it'll be available within the next hour after we stop recording. That's all I can say.
Sorry, that was my pose. That was my pose in case they wanted to look at my face.
Oh God, That's how Filipino. That's how Filipino Joe's getting that he's doing these little Filipino poses. If you guys are from Daly City and watch the TFC channel, that's the little that's their pose. That's what they do all the time. That's how you know that the Filipinos rubbing off on Joe.
Oh man, it is. Hey, the food's good, man. That's all I gotta say.
Oh yeah,
Food's good.
You're not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. I'm Filipino, and yeah, I can't, but I'm still waiting for that care package from Mr. and Mrs. Diaz in New York, and whoever made that chicken at the picnic. If you get that chicken, oh my God, I think I was talking to your mom.
Hey, but I don't know. There was so much food there at that picnic, man.
Yeah.
I don't know who made what, but it was good. It was
good.
That's another podcast.
It was a Puerto Rican dish, if you guys don't remember. A Puerto Rican dish that had chicken and rice, I think it was what it was. And it was the first time that I tried it, and it was so good. And I didn't want to look like a pig and finish it, but I was hoping there's some leftovers. But by the time I got back to the kitchen, it was all gone.
No, that was like the first thing they go. All the Filipinos are like, "What is it? This is new."
Exactly.
Like, no, we've had that before. I want to try this.
No one's eating the lumpia. Yeah, because we're all hovering over this Puerto Rican dish right here. What is this?
Except for me, I had lumpia. In my pocket. I love that stuff.
All right, guys. Well, again, thanks for listening. Thanks for stopping by the Ordinary Joe's podcast. We will definitely be back next week with a new topic. If there's a topic you guys think you guys want us to touch on or talk about, leave us a comment either on
Let us know.
the YouTube page, or again, email us at theordinaryjoespodcast@gmail.com. And if there's something else you want us to talk about, we're not going to get political. This is probably the most political we'll get, just because we're not going to get political.
Yeah.
That's the Kawhi Leonard laugh, because that's what happens if you get political here on this page. You're not going to get political.
You're not getting anything serious out of us anyway.
No, we're not going to talk about that. This is the most political we'll get. Coronavirus versus NFL's fantasy football. And the only reason why we talked about it is because it has money involved, and we're not going to get that way. But again, thank you for listening, and thank you for stopping by. And we are the Ordinary Joes. Peace.
Peace.